Thank you. Welcome again in our second session of our discussion, of which we refer in our program the POLICON, Policy, Politics, Economics. And those who've joined us, once again, we are blessed to be with the Honorable Dr. NSABA BUTUURO, an expert in development administration, the Member of Parliament of BUFUMBIRA East Constituency, and again endowed with rich wisdom through experience, having served the government as a Minister of Ethics and Integrity, State Minister of Information. And we're here indeed to share with the information. Once a minister, you are always a minister, you are still serving us. We appreciate again in this second session of our discussion. As we resume our discussion, our passion is to stir up the population outside there, the citizens, dear fellow viewers, those who are in the chain or circle of implementing policies. Ugandans, as some of us, specifically myself, who is the host of this program, we do research and find out what people are saying. They appreciate part of what the government intends to do. Number one, to conserve the environment. Number two, to ensure the utilization of land. There is a deliberate plan, I'm aware, Honorable, of improving mechanization of agriculture to where it can be able to be utilized. But again, we see our pace is very minimal. If you brought a white man and you say, please take over again, Uganda, take over East Africa, we are endowed with riches, and I wonder what remains keeping us behind. We have come up with the policies, but the implementation, without missing any word, we seem to be slowing down. There are some critical points I'll bring for our discussion, and possibly, Honorable, you'll guide us. Number one, some of the policy for conserving the environment, which is happening year round in Kampala, in Masaka, and some other parts of the region. Investors come, and I wonder, of course, we have the means of investment, we have means of land. They give out land, some, not every area where they have gone, but they give out land for investment, yet it is a wetland. What is disturbing citizens? When they have leased out land to be utilized, it's a wetland, they say, please, investor, we have accepted, construct a factory. Then the common person who is called Wananchi feel, why is it the government is talking about environmental conservation, but they have accepted, they give off this land to investor A, to investor B. It is an unresolved question. Number two, citizens continue to ask, as I've made the research, conducted the research, we have natural resources, including oil. Oil has become a song. We appreciate what the government has done. Personally, I can say, maybe we will get a blessing out of this on the way. But what continues to drag us behind? Now, we are no longer saying we are being colonized. It's us. We have MPs, we have a government. Honorable, you are once again welcome. We take it up from there.
Thank you very much. That word colonialism has now taken a new shape. Mm-hmm. The first one was political, mm-hmm. and you saw that before independence. But today we have a more sophisticated form of colonialism, mm-hmm. that is attempting to, and it is very subtle, attempting to maintain that control over us, over our resources, so that we don't move at a pace that is going to threaten their hold of us. Now, what do I mean? Give an example of genetically modified organisms.
Yes, I remember.
There's now a big war going on.
I remember supporting that research while in Parliament.
That's yes. Right, yes. Mm-hmm. Where now our friends from outside are saying, look, forget your own seeds, we are going to take care of that. Yes. And they want the death of our seeds, mm-hmm. so that we depend on theirs. And depending on theirs means that every season we have to buy. And I tell you what, anyone who controls the population, who feeds the population, is able to control to your destiny. And that's a form of colonialism that really is very, very vicious.
Resist that.
That's the second issue now, yes. Which is clearly, do we have the courage Do we have the unity? Because if I do myself, and both of us are leaders, you will be very fast to contradict me. We are together in this, but because, of course, you've been promised this or that, you are willing to ignore your people's interests and go for what gives you money here and there. And that brings in the question of wetlands. The issue of wetlands, very well articulated in terms of why it's important, and yet we see destruction continuing. It's because you have officials whose interest is really monetary, whose interest is what they can get out of these investors.
There's the challenge of Kabale, and basically your land, Kisoro district, Rwanda, and the whole that, Albert, and there is a way how they call it, the one which connects to that stream of the river. And for Kabale, it is a different case, but which also needs an intervention. And to be realistic, they believe that their survival has been on those wetlands because we are looking at the natural resources. We are looking at environmental conservation. And it's not only the case of Kabale, there's also some other regions, including Rukunjiri, and as we go to Acholi region, and also maybe as we draw toward the central Uganda, Buganda sub-region. Some members had already, not members, but the citizens had already acquired land titles, and they believe the government should compensate them. But the government has not compensated them. What could be your policy recommendation for the government take it up so that we come out from that stage? We tend to be taking time to say, this one we have finished it, we go forward. And in terms of policy, my question I'm posing is relating with policy implementation to make what we are discussing effective.
Well, again, part of the tragedy of our situation is that we know what to do, but we don't do it.
We know what to do, but we don't do it.
Something has gone wrong with our psyche, with our the desire to be different, to do better. But I can analyze the whole situation for you, but that's where it will end. I can produce the best laws, but yes, indeed, but implementation. In other words, the enemy is within.
Who is on our way, Honorable? Who is a stumbling block?
This is a question that we must answer collectively. The enemy is, yes, we have an enemy outside, but a more vicious one is inside. And that one is more difficult to beat because you are with him, you are planning together, you are keeping resources together, but he is not with you when it comes to implementation. And that is something we really need to sit down and crack. If we do not, if we don't really fix this problem that hinders us from being better than we are, yet God has given us immense resources other nations don't have. If we don't fix that one, we are going to continue being dominated, we're going to continue being exploited, we're going to continue being oppressed, we're going to continue wallowing into poverty to a degree that will really become a source of insecurity, instability, and so on. In other words, we really, and I pray this becomes the passion for everybody. Everybody who is worth his or her name, that what do? We have got it all, it's here. Those who don't have are depending on what we have to be able to give us a little bit of what is ours. How do we work together? Why doesn't Uganda, for instance, agree and work with Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda? Say, look, in Uganda, let's replace Nescafe. We have all this with the coffee.
Yes.
And you in Kenya, let us replace whoever produces tea. And you in Tanzania, get on to something else. And we support. We support
one another.
But we can't do it. So that if we don't, these multinationals are so powerful. They will crush you if you choose to threaten their interests. But in unity, it would be possible to do so. Yes, and so we have quite a challenge on our hands. We are working very hard, but results are not very, very encouraging indeed.
Honorable, it remains a debt, and this question cannot remain unresolved. And we are still trusting that the leaders whom God has given the mandate, both in the parliament and outside parliament, there should be a deliberate way to maybe whether we bring a new bill that is policy enforcement act, I don't know. But I'm a bit very much ambitious to believe that it is possible. If Singapore made it, if Nigeria, they have taken a certain, by the way, a better step in the economic growth around 480, above 480 for last year in 35 as per the GDP. And the Kenya, we are counting also, they have gone ahead over 100 something, and then for us we are 35. Tanzania is running faster, and Uganda, we are not cursing ourselves, but we need to do a road. We need to do a road. So we come to the point that we are brought on board on how we should come together. And I do trust that this would have been a good enforcement or a policy recommendation of coming together. There are existing bills which now they are no longer bills. This was since 2019. They have been passed into law as per protocols. I'm talking of East Africa. East Africa Natural Resource Management project supported by the following. 1, Transboundary Ecosystem Management Bill, that was of 2012. 2, Regional Policy Strategy and Legislation, Wildlife Conservation and Management, also protocol was signed. Another one is the East African Community Forest Management and Protection Bill, 2015. And also another one is Regional Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. All these are national and regional, since at the level of a protocol, that are intending to see how East African community member states, through the protocol, can adopt or can implement such protocol to make a change, to turn our bad luck to good luck. Our forests no longer to be affected, or all that kind of environmental degradation approaches and actions. I understand we have members of parliament who represent Uganda in East Africa, and they're supposed to come back and report. But also ensure that they can also be able to say, this is our protocol, we do this. I've ever had an interest to represent Uganda in East Africa. That one, I leave it at that. But we still remain with unresolved question, yet we are having what I should have called as our main arrows to realize what we've talked about, because all this is done through signing of protocols. But the existing protocols are not also being implemented. Our members of parliament who represent us in East Africa, when they come back and maybe report to the Committee of East Africa, and maybe to evaluate and examine whether we are moving forward, nothing is being done. What can be done in action to stop this scenario?
As I said, really, there is a demon somewhere.
Oh God, that's
a demon that is determined to keep us where we are.
We need to pray.
Keep us busy, keep us, and we have brilliant minds, by the way. Oh my God, we've got brilliant minds that are capable of writing papers that would match any other in the world. But you see, that is where it stops. In other words, what is going on, it's a conspiracy that is intended to really keep us where we are. Keep Uganda fighting her neighbors fighting Uganda. You saw the other day the story of milk with Kenya, maize with Kenya, and so on. And yet there are protocols that do allow. In other words, we have these protocols, brilliant ideas, but the execution part of it is what fails us. I don't want to see you as a brother. I don't want to see you as someone with whom we are together. We are in it together. We are one people. But we don't want to see that. Instead, I want to see you as a rival, as an enemy. And the intention, as I said, is the world economic system and the political system, of course, that have chosen to say, these people who have resources we don't have, who have resources that are able to transform our societies. How do we control them? How do we keep them confused and unable to sit down and work together for the betterment of their people? So there is that external interest. In other words, we need awareness from our leaders and across the region. Not only I have seen President Museveni trying very hard, but very often he doesn't, is not reciprocated for those great ideas he has from beyond our borders. But it's part of the problem, therefore. So emancipation requires that there is awareness by ourselves that says if we don't work together, if we don't unite, we are finished. Yes, we have these resources, but really they will continue taking them and giving us a pittance for relationships we have with them. In other words, really liberation is going to, nobody's going to do it from outside. That's a fact. This exploitation that is ongoing, the domination that is ongoing, it's not going to be stopped by our friends. Oh no, because that's what they use to gain access to what we have. It's going to be internally generated. The question you are putting to me, and I appreciate it, is who among us is going to do it? Yes. I am not going to allow you to come out and say things which threaten my interests, and so I fight you. So we have a demonic problem that is complex, but clearly I do believe if we put our heads together with God's help, we can fix it and be able to move forward.
Thank you so much. We are continuing, and we still have some minutes to have a discussion on a pertinent point that takes us back to the contribution, the economic significance of natural resources, the contribution towards fiscal revenue, that was part of our introduction, income, and poverty reduction, turning our bad luck to good luck. Our country is a country of opportunities. That's Uganda. The neighboring countries also are countries of opportunities. You go to Kenya, you go to Tanzania, you go to Rwanda, you go to Burundi, you go to the Democratic Republic of Congo.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is a unique case with resources no nation around the world has. Absolutely, that DRC you see, the size of Western Europe, by the way, with incredible resources that could easily meet needs of the whole of Africa. Did you know that they have a dam that can actually generate electricity for the whole of Africa?
The whole of Africa?
Oh yes.
That's some
incredible resources God has given us, but frankly, the tragedy of our situation is that these resources are not ours. They are ours, all right. Physically they are here, but their exploitation is not with us, and that is something we have got to work together to reverse. Yes, our friends have said they will fight to death if ever we seek to change this status quo. Well, we should be prepared and say, actually, we can, if we were united, it will be possible to fight them.
To have the East Africa, are you recommending that we pursue and complete this cycle, the process of East African Political Federation may be a solution? Can it be a solution of this?
The solution has to be our leaders ourselves having to be convinced, first of all.
They are failed to be convinced.
That is the challenge. Otherwise, in that kind of unity, clearly, first of all, you are talking about an enhanced market, that's all right. But of course, that means our friends will take us more seriously. The threats we receive every day, we will be halved, really, so to speak. And you haven't talked about an attempt by African states to have a free trade zone. That would send shivers in the capitals of the Western world, but they are not going to allow it.
I have a conviction that part of the reason why they cannot allow it, you know, in our discussion, it was deliberate in our introduction, we said we need to empower our communities first. Our communities, and how do we empower them? Number one, to ensure that there is human capital development, the human resource with us before we talk about the natural resources. Because if the human resource, this is the second point that I would like you to also maybe give a contribution to the viewers and I bring this for our moderation, if the human resource is not well empowered and equipped to know what do we target to do and achieve, and again having the potential. The human resource that begins with you, the viewer, your neighbor, and so forth. Our education system. Our education system, it should be, as you pointed out a certain point, some on the way of our discussion, to know what Uganda can do best. But again, it's important to know which areas that are still lacking in exploiting our potential. We have natural resources, but our courses, as we go to teach, as Uganda, maybe other countries, we only teach bachelors of arts, bachelors of social sciences. But we are not having now some who are getting a training deliberately that will be aiming to exploit this gold and utilize it and maybe connect with the investment of it at a wider perspective. The government attempted it once, but which is not yet realized fully by the NRM government, by investing in training those who were to deal in the petroleum oil. Yeah. But to me, if as I'm sharing with you, because you are my voice, me, my guest, you are my voice and the voice of the viewers. Why can there be a deliberate move to train ourselves in other areas that need the exploitation of these natural resources, the human capital development? There's a gap. What is your take on that?
That's $1 million question. Again, you see, you have articulated this point very, very clearly. Mm-hmm. But so what? Because that's where we are stopping. And again, I point out, really, there is a mysterious force that constrains us from doing what we know is right. I know what I should do, when I should do it, but I won't do it. And it's not only happening here, it's across the region and even the continent. So the challenge is real. Clearly, your point about the education system is incontestable.
Yes, it doesn't connect with these natural resources. It doesn't connect with the need.
It simply does not. And the question is, can't those people who should be doing something, don't they see it? The truth is they see it.
They see it.
They see it.
The policymakers, they see it. And
they know about the relevance of the system of education that we read. They see it. They know it. And they desire really to do something about it. But that's where it stops. In other words, we have a problem on our hands. Mm-hmm. And it's not so much to do with the absence of resources, by the way. No, the resources we have. Even those we have, we end up using them not in a way that will help us in any significant way. So really there is an issue that borders on a societal situation for ourselves. If we don't make radical changes in the way we educate our people, in the way we live together, in the way we jealously regard our resources, if we do not do something about it, what is going to happen are three things. Mm-hmm. First one, certainly, will be more domination by more organized societies, more exploitation by those who are relatively better off, but who depend on our resources. More oppression because because we are being exploited and dominated, we are not free to be what we want to be. Did you know, for instance, that if you wanted to do something and it's possible, some interests will not allow you? They would rather kill you or replace you with someone else who is willing to do what they want to do. It's a more complex problem, one that requires really, I think, going before God, fasting and going before God and say, Lord, it's your grace who gave us these resources. You didn't give them to other nations, but we are sorry we are unable to exploit these resources. What can we do? Show us the way. And I'm convinced the good God who gave us those resources in the first place, will open up and give us a way out of this mess we are in. It's not pleasant, and it is simply leading, by the way, this is the second part, to more instability.
Instead of stability, it will lead to more instability.
It will be more instability, more insecurity, more poverty.
I hear that the crash between us, Uganda, it's a story that is not forgotten, it's on record. The clash between the Uganda armies and the Rwanda armies in 2012, it gives me a reflection on what you've said, instability. It was a competition of the two powers, and at the end of the day, by individuals who wanted to take some resources. But finally, as you know on record, because we are factual here in POLICON, there was even a case which was opened to sue those who were engaged in that swindling of other resources. So where it is a bit, again, now coming back to us, and you'll be having 3 minutes to conclude this point, we are also part of the blame. And you have called for prayer, but to me, as I call for action, we need to do better than that. Prayer is good, but through policy implementers and makers, there is a deliberate action that should be made. I have mentioned that, that's number one. Number two, it happened to be I was part of the committees of parliament as a technocrat. And we went to visit some of the areas which are already taken over, some of the forests that are already invaded by some people, as you said, maybe it's a demon, but this demon can't it die? Honorable, what is your take on this as you conclude?
Well, I take your point really that we should never attribute our underdevelopment to factors that are external. Remember, we kept coming back to one obvious truth, that the enemy is within, and the enemy is your brother. We are the same people, come to think of it.
Those who are grabbing land, they are Ugandans.
That's right. The enemy is within. And until we fix that enemy, we are going to continue in this state of affairs. What it takes, and I take your point, by the way, prayers, of course, but action as well. Yes. And this is where I propose that people who are like-minded, and it seems you and I could do business together. We are really like-minded, and there are many others who are out there. We need to sit down and say, look, where do we go from here? And oppose our brothers from within.
Do you recommend a dialogue over these matters?
I think we do.
A national dialogue?
We need a national dialogue.
May you present it before Parliament? We call for a national dialogue?
We certainly do, and the national dialogue I'm talking about is one that says God has blessed us with these resources, but we are not using them, they are being used by others. And the reasons are that we are not working together. The reasons are that we have eminently put forth the greed as a means of transaction. And so that really puts the blame on each one of us. Our people, and you did mention them, the voters in this case, have a case to answer as well. Our people have a case to answer. When you look at the quality of some of the representation we have,
the members of parliament, the councillors,
you wonder where these, why do people bring such people around? But of course, he's my relative, he gave me this, it's ours, and so on. That becomes the criteria for choosing who represents you. And that really is condemning us to a laughable state of affairs.
Thank you so much for your passionate contributions that really deliberate to guide this country. Thank you for the wisdom, but yet with some assertive points. You've talked about to having a dialogue, and which I was in agreement with you. As you said, we are a bit almost matching toward the same line. Number two, you mentioned also the greedy people, and you said that the actions so far available with us, they need divine intervention. Dear viewers, all these are factual issues that we need to take into consideration, the stakeholders. And number three, you were able to alert us that there are some of the external forces that also come to fight us. But again, you didn't contest it, that we also have a role to play in our country if we are to utilize very well the natural resources. And I believe by doing so, we can take it up from there. And again, I want to appreciate as we close our discussion. Thank you for coming, and you've recommended us that it is high time the government, the Ministry of maybe Guidance and so forth, the Ministry of, to be able to partner with us so that we can educate more our countrymen and women how best we can use the natural resources and our topics which are aiming to uplift the economy of the country. Thank you, dear viewers, for watching, to be with us throughout to view Smart 24. television. We hope to see you next time. God bless you. Good night.